Check. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome neighbors and candidates to our 2019 South Palm Park Candidates Forum. Tonight the format is going to be very similar to what we saw at the Playhouse. We're going to start out with introductions and opening remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening remarks. Then we'll be asking questions of the candidates. They'll have 1 minute to respond. They will also have a 1 minute rebuttal, one minute rebuttal that can be used at any time. Just raise your flag there on the floor, and we'll share the rebuttal until the end of that particular round of questioning. We're going to start on the left and work our way to the right, and each question will move over one so everyone has a chance to be the first one to get grilled on our questions. We're going to be going until 8:50, and we'll stop that round of questioning once the round is complete, and then we'll have 1 minute of closing remarks from each candidate. I'd like to thank all the candidates for their dedication and desire to be serving our community and our city. Thank you very much. And now let me welcome our candidates. As we mentioned before, Omari Hardy is our incumbent candidate for District 2. Kathy Turk, candidate for District 2. Tom Copeland, candidate for District 4. Richard Gercio, candidate for District 4. Herman Robinson, our incumbent candidate for District 4. And not present is William Joseph, also running for District 4. I'll ask the audience to remain quiet. Please silence all your cell phones. Double check that we don't get any rings in the middle of our questions. Please be courteous and no cheering and all the fun stuff that we like to do. We do have a limited amount of time, so holding applause to a minimum would be appreciated so that we can get through as many questions as possible. Also, candidates, please be mindful of our timers. They will be holding paddles up, giving you 30-second, 15-second, and stop. And I would also ask that the candidates address the questions and not other candidates. We're really interested to know more about you guys and what you represent. So with those few ground rules, I'd like to thank the South Palm Park Association, my committee members, Chris, Bill, Art, Chip, and Lynn for your assistance. And Bill and Lynn are doing our timing tonight. Thank you very much. So with that, we're going to open up with our opening remarks, starting with Omari, and 2 minutes. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hi. As the gentleman here said, Mr. Makepeace, my name is Commissioner Omari Hardy, and I am the sitting commissioner for District 2, which is the northwestern part of the city. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I teach civics, which means basically that I teach kids to do what it is that you're doing, right? Take seriously what's happening in their community, get involved, be informed, vote, etc. So I really appreciate what it is that you guys are doing. As I've said before, I really hope that my kids, all 110 of them, are one day in a room just like this 10 years from now, because it's really, really important, especially the things that happen at the local level. So I thank you guys for being here. I'm running for my re-election because I did what it was that I said I would do. When I got elected, I was really, really concerned about the city doing what I felt were the ABCs of government, right? Which was keeping the city safe, which was improving the basic infrastructure. That means our roads, our sidewalks, our electric utility. And also, I was very concerned about the lack of investment that the city was getting, or rather, the investment that the city was not getting at that time. And so that was 2 years ago. I was fortunate enough to, with many of the, with the support of many of the people here in the room, to have beaten a 3-term incumbent. And 2 years later, what do we see? We see that our road bond project is actually under budget, which is not a very Lake Worth thing. When does Lake Worth ever do anything under budget? Right now, we're about $5 million under budget. In addition to that, we're ahead of schedule, right? And in addition to that, we're embarking on a multi-million-dollar improvement to the electric utilities to make it more reliable. We're going to spend about $15 million this year. We're going to spend another $15 million next year. And we plan to spend a lot of money to make sure that our residents have no difference in service, whether they live here or whether they live somewhere that's served by FP&L. In addition to that, we have investment pouring into the city. We've approved 57 single-family homes. We've approved our first ever luxury apartment complex. We have the one luxury condominium just opened up. We are on the cusp of something great. We have momentum. I want to see us continue to move in the right direction. My name is Commissioner Omari Hardy. I appreciate your support. I hope to get your vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Turk, and I want to thank South Palm Park for having us and all of you for being here. So I'm a mom. My 2 children are at the University of Kentucky and Emory University. I'm also a business owner, a homeowner, and a Lake Worth volunteer. I started my business in Boca Raton in 2001. We do supplemental staffing, project management, process improvement, and HR consulting. 5 years after having started my business and a lot of long hours, I had built 2 offices and had 56 full-time benefited employees working for me around the country, plus contractors. Today, I'm semi-retired and I work part-time from my home. Shortly after purchasing my home in Tropical Ridge, I discovered that Wawa had plans to build a 16-pump mega gas station 18 inches from my living room window. Since winning that fight, I have served on Lake Worth's Planning and Zoning Board. I have been the president of the Lake Worth Art League. I'm on the board of the Friends of Lake Worth Parks and Rec. I work with our schools to help fill their food pantries, and I'm the very proud steward of the Little Free Library. I'm running in this race because the Wawa taught me that our lack of affluence makes us extremely vulnerable to outside influences. I am all for smart development, but we have to be weary of developers that promise to be our saviors, but in fact just want cheap access to 95 and West Palm Beach. We're also susceptible to larger government organizations and even party politics. Our dais must be unified in putting Lakewood priorities first, ensuring a strong, consistent local government, and protecting our assets, enabling the best and most efficient use. There's a lot of talk right now about grants and bonds and penny sales tax, and those are nice, and I'm appreciative for them, but they're not going to last forever. We have to make smart financial decisions now so that we can be financially independent. I have spent years negotiating contracts, working with clients to enable their strategic goals. It's time now to bring my business experience, my life experience, my tenure. It's time for me to be on the dais. Thank you.
Good evening, South Palm Park. My name is Tom Copeland. I am one of your neighbors. I live at 1605 South Palm. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you to my wife for being here tonight as well. There she is. Tracy Copeland showed up. And I'm running for City Commissioner for District 4. And the reason that I'm running is, let me start with a little bit of background. I was born and raised in Palm Beach County. For those that have heard this story, I'm sorry if I bored you, but I was born and raised in Palm Beach County. I went to university at University of Florida. I graduated with a business degree from UF, and since then I work in marketing and advertising. I've been in marketing and advertising for about 8 years, and I work for a big law firm. Also in 2015, I joined the Community Sustainability Advisory Board for the City of West Palm Beach. I'm sorry, that was 2014. And then I joined the Finance Advisory Board and have been on it since 2015 for the City of Lake Worth. The reason that I'm running is because, like many of my neighbors, I feel that we may not have been doing enough over these last couple of years. I've got a vision for this city, and that vision hasn't come true. That vision is one that's shared with many of you. I've been refining it since we've been door knocking and meeting with our neighbors and talking with you and talking to neighbors in all of our different neighborhood associations. And here it is, 3 big things. Number 1, a parking and mobility plan for downtown corridors, so once and for all we can address both our permanent problems with parking, but also set ourselves up for the future of mobility. Number 2, finally addressing the beach and casino complex. Instead of looking at just should we build a pool, should we not build a pool, actually addressing the entire 19-acre complex. And number 3, continued revitalization of our neighborhoods. What I want to ask of you tonight is please listen tonight. We know a lot of the problems. I want to ask you to please listen for solutions and plans from my candidates in District 4 tonight. I hope that you'll hear mine. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi guys, I'm Richard Durcio. I'm your neighbor, of course, 720 South Conway. And I'm running for a number of reasons. I think that the city here is facing some challenges. We have both financial challenges and we have infrastructure challenges. And for my time as chair of the Finance Advisory Board, you all know the work that I did there as its chair, and the Bond Oversight Committee. I feel that I'm uniquely qualified to be sitting in that chair and helping to guide the city through the issues that we have both structurally and financially. But why I'm really standing here tonight is, by the end of the night, I'm hoping that you will see that I'm the proper candidate to be sitting in the District 4 seat. I'm not going to take any more time of that. I'm going to let the night pass on through, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks a lot.
Commissioner of District 4, and I want to thank John for his microphone, which is essential to me, and Louis for your work in the committee. The participation in our democratic process is very, very important, and we always do it Lakewood style, so I enjoy that. Since buying our home in 1998, I have been passionately involved in serving our community. I founded Bryant Park Neighborhood Association, serving as president for 4 years. I was instrumental in founding the NAPC. I invested in a historic building at 609 Lake Avenue and Rhine Lake Avenue Chocolate Company downtown. I participated in Lake Worth's volunteer spirit by serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission and as chair of Historic Preservation. When I was president of Kiwanis, we created and helped to fund a new soccer field at Sunset Ridge neighborhood. Since being elected as your commissioner, the city has developed and maintained a disciplined growth, encouraged young families to make Lake Worth their home. We have managed your road bond to come in ahead of schedule and under budget. We have invested in license plate readers and security cameras to facilitate the reduction of crime. Last year, the crime rate went down by 27%. I remain committed to the future of downtown, and I am looking forward to a wise and useful penny sales tax. We have made real and positive changes in our comprehensive plan and historic guidelines to make permitting less onerous for property owners. We have invested in electric cars, new communication, GIS technology, and, at my suggestion, increase the income at our oceanfront casino park by $800,000. In short, I'm doing the things together as a team. I want very much to continue my service, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. So we're going to begin our questions now. Again, 1 minute per question. And we're going to start with Omari working to the right. Timer's ready. Our first question, what would you do to reduce quality of life crimes, prostitution, drug use, dealing, especially in South Lake Worth and South Palm Park?
I appreciate that. So the first thing I want to let everyone know here is that we actually got a letter from the county public defender. Her name is Carrie Howell. And she's one of the best public defenders in the state of Florida. But she sent us a letter and she spoke with our city manager, Michael Bornstein, and she said, you guys are actually leading the county in quality of life arrests, right? And is there something that you can do to not arrest people for violating local ordinances? For example, people being in public places after 10 p.m. We actually passed an ordinance that said after 10 p.m. you can't be in Bryant Park, you can't be in these various other parks here. We did that and we arrested people as a result of that, right? So we're actually doing a much better job than we have been doing. But if you live in South Palm Park and you see the prostitution and you see the drug use, you don't feel that, right? And so I'll tell you what Captain Bear says. Long-term, all of that is a redevelopment issue. The real reason why you have prostitution on these highways, Dixie highways, South Federal highways, because there is not enough economic activity happening there. There are not enough honorable people engaging in honorable activities so that they can displace the people who are engaging in dishonorable things. So that's the long-term solution. We need bodies, we need residents who are doing good things in our community. Thank you.
So Murray's right in the fact that much of that is a systemic issue. It does come from poverty. I too have talked to Captain Bear about that, and that's exactly what he says, that right now we have a 30% poverty rate. A healthy city has 10%. So we do have to dilute the poverty numbers by bringing in more middle class. I had heard about these children walking to school to South Grade and walking past drug dealers and prostitutes. I spent the better part of 2 weeks every morning going and watching this and staring them down. It is a problem. I'm an adult, these are small children, they shouldn't have to walk by these illegal activities. I would insist, first of all, Commissioner can't talk to Captain Bear and tell him what to do, but Michael Bornstein can, and I would insist upon having police officers, deputies out there around the schools before and after school day so children don't have to be around this. I wouldn't think of it as a joke anymore. Late work and prostitution and drug dealers is a joke, and it shouldn't be. We should not tolerate it. We need to take a firm stance against this. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the question, because now you're talking about my backyard. I'm on the south end of South Palmway in the 16th block. I know I share that with a number of neighbors who are here tonight. And I want to just add to that question. It's been a problem for 25 years. This is not a new problem. This has been a problem for a very, 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 very long time. Again, problems and solutions. The long-term solution certainly is going to be redevelopment. We have a number of empty lots all along the federal corridor. And my plan, and this is feasible because I've sat with Joan Oliva at the CRA, and my plan is to redistrict the CRA from 6th Avenue South on Dixie Highway to district it into 6th Avenue South on Federal. It is possible. It's a little bit of a political move. It's going to require the buy-in from the rest of the commissioners, but it is an answer. We have a lot of lots, but none of them are being bought up, and haven't been bought up for years. So the idea that redevelopment without a plan can happen, it can't. You have to have a plan, you have to incentivize development, and that's what I want to do as your commissioner. Thank you.
It's an interesting question. On Saturday morning, myself, Chip Guthrie, and Tammy Panson went to what's called First Appearance. We got notice from Sergeant Second in that there were 5 prostitutes that were busted, and they asked us to come to court and talk to the judge, which we did. What the judge did was create a no-contact order for all 5 of them for District 14. That means they're not allowed in the city. And they heard us, and they heard what we had to say. We've done this repeatedly in the past. So it takes some community involvement to do that. But as far as policing it goes, the CRA has the opportunity, that they can, spend money on police presence in their district. So when we talk about the $2.5 million they spent on L&M Street for properties that they were just going to level for parking, that's 19 deputies. That's 6 deputies per shift in the CRA district. So if we were able to put more police presence out there and then be able to follow up on these girls are mapped out. They're not allowed to be here, but now we have to follow. If we see them on the streets, they get rearrested and they get put in jail for a long time, which will help them out as well. These are the sorts of things we need to do. If you want to get more involved, talk to Chip about it.
Thank you, Chip and Richard. And this First Appearance program is fantastic. It obviously is important that citizen participation in that business. When you see a person doing business, you need to call it in. If the sheriffs don't know that they're there, what I've asked the sheriff to do, and yes, we can talk to the sheriff, is use the schedule of the buses to be there at school time. And becoming a CRA district in the federal highway is not a real very good idea, because that money, any money on those empty lots, the tax increase would go to the CRA, not to the general fund. And I'm not sure that once it's developed, the CRA would be wise use of that money in that district. So development is the key, and Wood Waters is somewhat responsible for that.
Thank you, candidates. We're on to question number 2, starting with Kathy. As you walk around South Palm Park, you often are confronted with an unpleasant sewer odor. In fact, many residents complain of an unhealthy odor coming into their homes. What can you as the commission do to ensure this kind of public safety issue is addressed? And how would you propose to pay for the repairs? Would you use the penny sales tax, for example?
Yes, I would. I think we need exactly the things that we need to use that penny sales tax for our infrastructure. It's a long-term investment. Simple answer, yes, I would use the penny sales tax. Thank you.
So the answer is to call up your commissioner, and your commissioner will show up and listen to the problem and come and see it and spend a little time on your property and take a look at it, assess it, go back to the city, talk to the city about it, and then find out how you fix it. Penny sales tax, sure. We also have lots of capital improvement projects in place right now for water and sewer and things that are going on throughout the city. So it all starts with showing up and taking a look at it first, and then going from there and finding a solution. Thank you.
I think we all know that the pipe that we're smelling is the main line that comes from the regional sewer that comes out of Lantana. We sell sewer services and water services outside the city, and it runs right past my backyard down Lakeside Drive, so we smell it on occasion as well. We don't need to use penny sales tax. There's plenty of money in the water utility and their capital projects to do all this sort of thing. There's no need to do that at all. So it does need to be addressed. They are aware of it, and it's something that eventually is going to come down. The hard part is that there's air in there, and air is just going to get pushed out anyway it may be. So this is going to be a different kind of a technological and engineering solution to fix, but we don't need to use penny sales tax for it at all.
This penny sales tax is a cookie jar that we're going to be dipping into for every little thing that it should be covered by the budget. And we need to be responsible for, at the end of 20 years, looking back and saying, this is what we've invested in penny sales tax for. The fact is, if you don't call the commissioner, they're more than likely not going to know your problems. And so if you don't complain, nothing changes. So I encourage you to offer suggestions, and complaints are good.
So the first thing that I'll say is that the water fund and the sewer fund, they are both like enterprise funds, right? So that means that they have revenues, okay? They have debt. The interest on which is paid for by the revenues that go there. There's really no need to take penny sales tax funds and import that into a fund that already has a source of revenue there. And so really what we just need to do is incorporate this into our long-term capital improvement plan, and that's something that we should do. And by the way, we actually get that water main replacement plan. We're actually in the process of replacing a lot of the 2-inch water mains in the city. We get extremely cheap financing from the state of Florida. We're talking about 2% here. On the issue, I just want to revisit the issue with prostitution here. It's not as simple as, hey, let's expand the CRA boundaries. Because first of all, it doesn't just require a vote of the commission. It requires a vote of the county commission. And the county commission and the county administrator have taken the position that no city will expand their CRA because they lose revenue from it. And if you doubt that, ask Palm Springs. Palm Springs doesn't have a CRA. They just wanted one. And the county commission told them, no, you will not go from no CRA to having any CRA, and it just is what it is, so it's not a viable solution.
Okay, handle the bottles now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, it is a viable solution. Not only have I spoken with the executive director of the CRA, but I've also spoken with CRA board members as well. It's an absolutely viable solution. We're not talking about expanding the CRA. What we're doing is talking about redistricting. That's different from expanding. We're taking away the district of 6th Avenue South, which runs all the way to 18th Avenue South, right just west of my house, because it's been known that no development is going to happen in that area right there. So it's very much possible. We can do it, we've talked about it. And while we're back on it, there's a couple of other low-hanging fruits too that I wanted to mention that I didn't have enough time for. And one of them is calling up your commissioner. And I know I mentioned it a minute ago, but it is absolutely true that the commissioners do interact with Captain Bear. And I also just want to say that I heard a little bit earlier the idea of getting new PBSO officers. I've sat with Captain Bear, spent a lot of time with him. And if you ask him if he needs new PBSO officers, he flat out told me he does it when he needs his community engagement and participation. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is going to start with Tom. The South Palmway median is in significant disrepair in need of maintenance and redesign. To keep the beauty and the value of our neighborhood, what would you do to support that redevelopment and improvement, and how would you fund the work?
Yeah. So this is a great question. This actually comes back to my third point that I had to rush through when I opened up. Still getting used to timing here, so bear with me. But this comes back to my third point, which is neighborhood revitalization and investment. Because when we invest in our neighborhoods, we take pride in our neighborhoods and our ownership, and we take pride in our ownership, and our tenants and our owners in the neighborhoods take ownership, takes pride. So how do we do it? Well, I think that the best use of penny sales tax dollars is to, one of the biggest ones is to invest in our neighborhoods, not just our neighborhood in South Palm Park, including our meeting, because it is in significant, it is in need of some repair, but looking at all 4 of our districts. There's been a lot of years, many years when District 4 on the west side of Federal hasn't had any money investment at all. This kind of plays into penny sales, and I don't want to jump the gun on it, but I'd like to see, to answer your question, it could come from penny sales tax dollars, absolutely. It may even come from some capital improvement projects as well. But I'd like to see a significant portion of penny sales tax dollars spent in the neighborhoods on projects just like these. So that's what I would do. Thank you.
I don't think the sales tax money qualifies for doing the median. It's not infrastructure, it's plants and what have you. At the corner of 6th Avenue and South Palm Way between, on the side there's Liz and Dan that lived there, Dr. Dan and Liz. Liz was the botanical master at the Bonnet House in Fort Lauderdale. And she has offered our neighborhood association more than once to come in and redesign the median. We can all contribute a plant or 2 or a tree or whatever it may be. But Liz has offered to do that for us, and that's a free resource. We don't spend any money on it except what we want to contribute ourselves. That's the right way to do it. I don't think any of the infrastructure's in disrepair. The lights came on Christmas, right, when we put up the decorations. I didn't put out the flamingos this year, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't get time to get around there. But I don't think we need to spend any money out of the city or spend sales tax on stuff like that.
I congratulate South Palm Park for its ownership of the boulevard, and I think it's a perfect neighborhood project. Certainly, the other neighborhoods are in more desperate need of improvements than the boulevard, although it would make a fine neighborhood project to work on that and keep ownership of your boulevard. So, penny sales tax is way too inviting. It's just not, it shouldn't even be considered.
Thank you. It's not only that you shouldn't use the petty sales tax money for the median, it's that you legally cannot use the petty sales tax money for the median, because the ballot language excluded things like trees. I would love to, for example, add lots of shade trees and things like that to Dixie Highway and South Federal Highway and lots of really less vegetation, but unfortunately the ballot language, which created that pot of money, does not allow for that. So it has to be a hard infrastructure improvement. So what I think that we can do, I think we can do a couple of things. I think we can devote some money from our budget to some vegetation, some really nice vegetation there. That's number one. I think we should